Hi guys, welcome to Malifaux, and yeah, it's been a while. Very glad to be back playing another game. I had such good intentions to start playing regularly again, and yeah, I fell into something of a League of Legends hole. Swapping to the support role, just as Riot decided to fudge with their ranked system, meant I got pretty sucked in to try to bring my game up a bit. And ultimately not being very successful, but yeah. Oh, and my job moved me to a site on the edge of town for several months, which made it a bit less convenient to get in games of the tabletop variety. But I am very glad to bring to you a game of Malifaux tonight, and I'm going to have to apologise. I am very rusty. I haven't played since back in May, was it? So yeah, I'm very much picking up from where I left off, and I'm going to give this report my best shot, but frankly, I spent this game just devoting all my mental energy to figuring out what I was doing. And I've never faced the enemy crew before, I've never even read their cards, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't really understand what was happening whilst we were playing, which is going to make my remembering what happened and recounting the tale to you a little bit difficult. But we are going to try, and if my opponent's watching this and remembers better than me what was going on, and would like to explain what his strategy was and what he was up to, where I've made mistakes, I'm more than welcome him to pop it down in a comment. So this is the terrain we've got for this game, a lovely ruined Aztec temple style thing. Where shall I start? All these little rock things are severe height 1, or except this one which is like height 2 where it makes sense. These are impassable blocking cover, these little lion statue things. These little step pyramids, I imagine ground cover, it didn't really come up, and you can walk up them as normal up the steps, and then there's like a little drops on certain sides. I'm pretty sure we're calling them height 2. These little clumps of plants and jungle trees are severe, dense. This sort of mound with the plants on it is severe. I don't know if it's dense. It might be. Let's just say it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. Didn't really come up. Oh, I think obscuring. The plants are obscuring. I really need to get in my head these new rules. And this central dais is like, it's just normal terrain. Like you can just walk up and down it. I guess it can block line of sight. These pillars are cover and impassable. Height, whatever they are to the nearest inch. I think that's about it. My opponent is the crew of Maxine Agassiz, and my opponent was the attacker, so I got him to set up half his crew first, and I chose the half that had his master in it. I don't remember which models those were, so we're just going to talk through his crew. We have got Maxine Agassiz, no upgrades, a Machinist, Mr. Ngaatoro, Beau Fishbocker, Harata Ngaatoro, Dr. Beebe, buried inside Calypso Mk II, suspiciously in this back corner, Orville Agassiz, and a Botanist. For my Neverborn crew, I have got a Cavern Nephilim, Marathine with Inhuman Reflexes, just sort of balanced on this pyramid thing as best as I can do, Gwyll, Kastore Fervant with Inhuman Reflexes, Athorak, an Urn Bearer, and another Cavern Nephilim. I believe I discussed my thinking behind this crew in a previous video, but essentially I really like it as a sort of like a generalist, take on everything team that I'm trying to relearn the game with. By keeping the models the same, I get to learn what they do, I get to focus, being more familiar, not trying to learn what different models do all the time, helps me then be able to divert more attention to the kind of sort of like the basics, the fundamentals, the actual mechanics of the game itself. So the idea is going to be I learn the game through the lens of this crew, and then once I've got that familiarity down, I can start switching up the pieces and playing a more nuanced game of Malifaux. So I actually didn't get a good photo of a full map deployment zone, so bear with me. Please, some pieces have moved around a little bit, but my basic game plan here is send the Cavern Nephilim out to secure the flanks, and have Kastore lead the charge into the centre. The idea, I guess, being to ask my opponent, like, can he handle the pressure I can bring in all 3 lanes. Because the Cavern Nephilim are like flanking gods, quite capable of taking on 9 to 11 soul stones of resistance on their own by themselves. And Kastore, surrounded by his support posse, should take a fair amount of resources to handle if my opponent does want to get annihilated. So the Cavern Nephilim are going out to the flanks to contest those far-flung intel markers, put down ski markers, very far apart and away from enemies, hopefully, for protect territory, and incidentally, if my opponent's going for power ritual, thwart that, and then hopefully one of them will survive, will win their flank, and then be able to mad dash into the opponent's deployment zone to score me the last point for in your face. And I thought going for in your face was a pretty good thing to do. I'm going to be throwing Kastore into combat. I notice he's got 2 models, the Ngaatoro brothers, who cost more than 8 stones, that are they look like they're going to be the front line of his crew. So I am probably going to have to kill them anyway. I'm not sure why I didn't go for power ritual myself. I think it's pretty much of a muchness. Power ritual costs me some AP on the first turn, dropping it in the backfield, dropping the marker in the backfield, and which would probably have to be one of my support pieces doing it. And the danger in Kastore's crew is that your support pieces can kind of get left behind, Gwyll and the Urn Bearer in particular. So I guess I was thinking I was saving AP efficiency, but protected territory is more difficult to score as opponents' models in the way can deny you more easily. I like to hope my Cavern Nephilim can knock enemies away with their attack, but there's a certain activation control involved in that. So yeah, next time I do a corner deployment, I think I'm gonna take another look at power ritual rather than protected territory if they're both on the cards. I don't really do deathbeds with this crew. I don't really create markers all that reliably. I think Athorak's wardstones count, and so he does give me the flexibility to do that. But it puts a lot of my eggs in that one basket, and he's already got a pretty big target on his head if you know what he brings to my crew. And Espionage seemed like power ritual, but harder. So that's why I took the schemes that I took. So let's get into the game. Turn 1 begins. There's my hand. Not a great hand, but I'm planning to just run avoidance. I'm not planning to do much, if any, flipping this turn. Doesn't seem like my opponent has a lot of range in his crew from what I was able to deduce. So the plan is just to basically set Kastore up for going in top of turn 2 and ditching all these cards out of my hand to make me flip less of them in turn 2. So I think I won the initiative, or the whatever that we're calling that. I'm going to call it the initiative because I can't remember actually what it's called, and made my opponent go first. I've got 2 pass tokens because I'm quite heavily outnumbered. And what happens? I think Orville drops a scheme marker and pushes, flapping his... Oh, it's like some sort of hang glider. Flapping his hang glider, moving out. I follow that up with my sort of set piece activation, in which I go with Athorak. So I use Faith and Flesh on Athorak, making him take damage to heal Kastore, which pushes Kastore 2 inches. Athorak then regenerates, healing himself back up to full. He then walks out, puts down his wardstones, and then whispers some ancient words to Kastore with the idea of using Kastore's Feast on the Faithful ability, which means that he won't take any damage from Athorak's attack, and instead will heal, which will then overheal him and cause him to push another 2 inches forwards. And thanks to Athorak's Eta Kithe aura will give him even more shielded. But I Black Joker, so that doesn't end up quite working out. And you can see my Urn Bearer has also picked up a shielded from the initial overheal of Kastore when Athorak was in range. So I believe the Botanist goes next for the Explorers Guild. What do they do? They eat the marker that Orville had placed to get them to grow, and then they rocket themselves across the board. They seem to have the onward ability as a bonus action, so I don't know if they could have actually made further, and I don't know if he maybe failed his flip or something. Oh no, I see what he's done. So yeah, so he's walked and onwarded and then placed another marker ready to set himself up for next turn. Because unbeknownst to me, his plan is to try to get lots of grow tokens, at least three grow tokens on this model, which will allow it to summon another Botanist to really help hold down this flank. For my part, I've just moved Marathine forwards. Given it can't be hurt, it's quite a safe activation, and I don't think my opponent has any blasts or nasty range conditions. So I'm fairly happy to just throw it at his face. I think Beau Fishbocker goes, and I think he leads the way on the Ngaatoro brothers to move them up. I think that's what's happening. There's also some various card draw shenanigans going on from various of his passive abilities. And it looks like Calypso, whatever this big robot thing's called, has dropped a marker and then done some jogging and more onwarding to get itself up board back into position. For my part, I've sent my Cavern Nephilim scuttling up the flank. Gwyll has gone, put focus on Kastore. Decay healed the Urn Bearer to push her forwards, and I guess some more shielding has happened, and then just walked around the edge of the pyramid. Something is happening in this little huddle over here. I honestly couldn't tell you what, but various conditions are going down. I think the Ngaatoros are now fast. Seems like there's some shielded being going around. Who can understand the ways of these tricksy humans? My Urn Bearer's gone. She's used Faith and Flesh to shuffle Kastore a little bit closer to the action, generating some more shielded from Athorak. She's emptied the urn on Kastore, pushing him forward a little bit more, focusing him. More shielded, and then she's walking around to stand by that nice, safe-looking pillar. I haven't used any of my past tokens yet because there hasn't been any real threat that I want to try to delay activations before putting my models into harm's way, and I'd quite like to go first in turn 2, so it'd be nice to hang on to these past tokens to sort of buff myself for that. And it looks like Beebe has now pushed the throttle forward on Calypso, and the big tentacle engine is stomping its way towards the central plinth. My Cavern Nephilim on the right flank has bolted for the marker, feeling very confident in its concealment to keep it safe and get itself into position to take some info, scuttle away, drop a ski marker and go over somewhere else. Next turn is sort of my plan. And as Kastore's not activated, maybe we can draw out these nice, tasty Ngaatoro brothers into the open for Kastore to have a spot of lunch. Maxine just saunters behind this cat thing, and not really quite sure what else she does. Probably some card cycling. And goodness knows what's going on over here. People are injured and poisoned and focused. Or maybe they were focused, not fast, I don't know. Basically, whatever the humans and their goblin pet are up to back here, it doesn't seem healthy. Or hygienic. And our suspicions were confirmed when the big Mr. Ngaatoro shoots out from the bushes. I think he might have been pushed. And maybe he was fast. Manages to get in range to get a charge on my skulking Cavern Nephilim, who thought he was safe. Hits him with a big old severe damage and poison, which really hurt. So yeah, I think I don't know if anything else hits him this turn, but he ended that turn on 2 wounds remaining, which is not quite what I planned for. So with the smell of black blood in the air, Kastore thunders towards the tasty-looking gentleman that has brought his own stick, which could be convenient to shove somewhere and make a kebab out of him. So yeah, I plough him in, trying not to get too close to the rest of the explorers who are coming up behind. Too late, I realise I made a positioning error here, in that I put Kastore too close to my very nearly dead Cavern Nephilim, who is a potential scoring target should my opponent have taken that scheme, and I expect him to, given how many members of my crew meet the criteria for scoring. Yeah, so with my focused attack, I think I put a pretty decent hit on Mr. Ngaatoro. Seeing his brother's peril, the other Ngaatoro brother with the poison shit leaps to his assistance, hitting Kastore and poisoning him, or would have, but I use a soul stone to negate the damage and so negate the poison. I understand that there's some sort of poison mechanic that goes on here, and I will just check up what that is. So if you get poisoned around Harata Ngaatoro, you also get distracted. And if you're poisoned around Mr. Ngaatoro, you can't use soul stones or declare triggers. That sucks. So yeah, definitely worth blocking that one. So that's how things end up looking at the end of the turn. I think I used Kastore's bonus action to try to get Marathine to like teleport and charge, but I didn't get the trigger, so I just charged Marathine closer to this fight. That's why they've moved up. Yeah, so that's how things look at the end of turn 1. Going into turn 2, there's my hand. Not a huge one, but at least I do have a severe. The 2 low cards in my hand, and the fact it being turn 2 and turn 2 being, I think, pretty much the pivotal, a really, really important turn. Might be worth soulstoning for cards here. I have, in the games that I've played, come to think that stoning for cards... I mean, I used to do it all the time in M2E, but in M3E, I have not found the value, and I'm not saying it's anything necessarily to do with the change in the system. It's just whenever I've done it in these recent games, I've regretted it, because I've needed those stones for damage prevention and triggers, and I have no idea about the damage output of the Explorers team that I'm facing, so and I've just thrown my my leader into the mix. So I'm being a bit conservative with my stone usage and going with the idea of, if I've got low cards in my hand, they're not in my deck. So there's a slight chance that I'm going to be flipping, or like raw flipping better than my opponent if he's got like a big hand of cards, which then sort of forces him to burn those resources. I don't know, it's a theory I'm working on. Despite my pass token advantage, empowering my initiative duel, I lose the flip. I think I cheat a card to then like make it so that we have to reflip, but whatever happens, I lose. Mr. Ngaatoro goes first and kills my Cavern Nephilim, scoring 1 point for in your face, thanks to my positioning mistake of Kastore. Real bummer. So if I had gone first, I would have gone with my Cavern Nephilim, healed up some damage, tried to hit Mr. Ngaatoro to like push him away, then probably walked off into that bush, ambushed away even further, or maybe ambushed away, dropped a scheme marker, something like that. But basically disengage, heal up a little bit, do something to help me score a point, and force my opponent to waste AP if they want to like chase him down to finish him off, and bring him out of that scoring radius of Kastore. But it was not to be, sadly. So Kastore vents his rage at the fall of his kin by eating the second Ngaatoro brother. As he can't use soul stones, I figure he's the one to go for, and yeah, we beat him down, summon Marathine with the trigger, allowing Marathine to charge through and finish the guy off, scoring me in their face. Over on the far left flank, the Botanist goes, probably eats another grow token, walks over to the intel marker, just like stands on top of it, and then drops another scheme marker. So this is looking a bit like Power Ritual to me, and obviously he hasn't collected the intel from the marker, because otherwise I would just go up and steal it. So I think I go with the Urn Bearer and walk up, lure Athorak onto the podium, and that's probably... or maybe like I faith and flesh him forwards and then move and lure him, not quite sure. But in any case, some healing has gone on because they've got shielded. Oh, that's probably when Athorak walked into her aura. So then Orville moves up to join the little shop of horrors that's being installed on this left flank. Athorak has moved up, he's put down his ward stones, he's stood on top of the intel marker and he's placed a scheme marker. I imagine he would have done his healing and shielding trick. I can't remember if he took a pot shot at the Calypso. If he did, I don't think it came to much. I feel like I shouldn't have been moving my centre forward and like committing the centre this early in the turn. I think I was just trying to save my my pass tokens to help me win initiative next turn, and I think it would have been better to use these now. And I especially don't like how close I put my Urn Bearer to the front line action. She really needs to be, I was going to say back here, you know, supporting Kastore, but she also needs to stay sort of around Athorak and stuff to be getting her shielding up. So yeah, I'm not quite sure where I should be placing her, but I suspect here is not quite the right place. So here we got to a slight question, which I feel pretty sure we resolved correctly. Either Dr. Beebe or Calypso, I was never sure which one was activating. Basically try to move up, stand basically here, it's fallen over because it was difficult to balance, and then like shockwave through the ward stones to push back and injure my two here. We realised we couldn't do that because the ward stones basically only allow you to draw line of sight or for attacks with melee attacks through them, and so his pulse wouldn't affect models through it. We checked on a Discord and subsequently on the forums, and that seems to be the right ruling. So instead he just made sure he could move through the ward stones to get line of sight and then do his bleeps and sweeps or something, which knocks my guys back and injures them. The Cavern Nephilim goes in on the plant thing, putting a good hit in for a moderate, leaving it on 2 wounds I think, and then we use its handy dandy forage bonus action to remove the marker just straight up, getting me a decent card back in my hand, and preventing what I think is going to be a power ritual point, but in actuality was going to be used to summon another plant enthusiast to the side of the board. And the idea here was to knock the thing off the marker, the intel marker, so that I could then use my second AP to collect intel, which these guys have activated so they couldn't get off me. But then I find that this plant has deep roots and I can't move it, which makes them really great for this type of scheme or strategy. And then I think my second attack I miss, I can't kill it, which is a real shame because, yeah, as it turns out, I was really sort of counting on this thing finishing up business on this corner in good time. Back in the corner, Calypso activates and starts mauling my guys, particularly the Urn Bearer. Someone's told my opponent that she is a threat that cannot be allowed to live. So she's now burning, but her shield will soak that up. But as I've activated these guys, yeah, there's nothing stopping Calypso from just picking up some intel as well. And I've got nothing left to activate that's in range to steal it back. So it looks like the Goblin has moved up to heal Mr. Ngaatoro up, and Marathine started hacking away at it. The humble Machinist is wandering around towards the centre field, just hanging back, waiting for its time to strategically reinforce somewhere, definitely not cowering in terror, as machines and monsters duke it out ferociously all around it. So with me running out of activations, it looks like Gwyll has gone, and Gwyll has used Essence Transfer to transfer some health, 1 point of health from Kastore to my Urn Bearer, and hit the trigger to get Kastore to drop a scheme marker, so which will hopefully come into play at some point. Hoping I'll be able to remove some of these pesky humans to allow my points to be scored. And the human leader has finished fiddling with her card deck behind that statue of the lion, and slipped like a slippery eel all the way into the corner, dropping a scheme marker and dancing around like she's preparing some sort of ritual. So at the end of the turn, things look like this. Neverborn score 1 point for in your face. Explorers score 1 point for In Your Face, 1 point for Power Ritual, and 1 point for Cloak and Dagger. 3-1 to the Explorers. Going into turn 3, there's my hand. Bit better, bit better. Think I win the initiative and go with my Cavern Nephilim on the far left corner flank. We kill the plant thing quite handily, picking the bones to drop a scheme marker, which is quite nice. I quite liked doing that. I decided not to collect the intel because that would just give Orville an easy opportunity to steal it back. And I think I just position myself on the marker so that Orville, in my mind, can't get it, and then try to take a swing at him. And I don't know if I hit or not. Probably didn't. But I don't quite realise what his movement shenanigans are, and basically I should have done the same thing as the plant lady did and just put my base completely over the marker. As it is, he just easily moves out of combat. I forget what ability allows him to do it, but yeah, he's got some sort of ability that allows him to easily just disengage, walks around me and collects the intel from the marker, which I then flip over to the other side of my Nephilim, just trying to bring it closer to this, in the direction I want to eventually be travelling with him. Yeah, I don't realise that he's got a 2-inch melee. What kind of bullshit totem has a 2-inch melee? So yeah, this is really, really annoying. There's a better picture of where I put the marker. Over in the centre, the combat is fierce. I think the Machinist, or whatever it's called, is just moving up to support. I think it tries to fire off a shot at Kastore, but fails its terror test. Looks like my opponent's just trying to stall for time, and maybe, I don't know, get in range to do some shielding. I'm not quite sure. So then I believe a Marathine starts hacking at the Goblin, doing some decent damage. The Goblin then does some stuff, I think running over to stand next to Mr. Ngaatoro, healing him up a little bit, and I think disengaging Ngaatoro from combat, and I think moving them away, which was a mistake, because that meant Kastore charged through them both, landing his first hit on the Goblin, killing it in one blow, and then we absconded with Mr. Ngaatoro all the way over to the corner, beating him some more, and starting to beat stones out of my opponent, although they're not really working for him. He's only preventing 1 damage at a time. So yeah, that was quite a brutal turn. And so now my hope is I've now tied up my opponent's, I guess, sort of like major models off on this far flank. I know that he's doing In Your Face, which means that Mr. Ngaatoro, as the sole surviving person able to score this point, has to get over into my deployment zone. And I know Maxine has shown that she can reposition herself really quickly, so I don't have much hopes of tying her down here. But essentially, I'm hoping I can gently eviscerate them into oblivion in this far-flung corner, whilst I gang up with everyone else on Calypso and Mr. Beebe in the centre. Dr. Beebe, sorry. Sadly, the humans don't want to seem to play with me. Sadly, the humans decide they'd really rather not play with Kastore. Maxine teleports away, grabs, I think, some intel, stands near my marker so that I can't score with it, and Mr. Ngaatoro disengages from Kastore. I flipped so well to hit him, and then I flipped the Black Joker for the damage, meaning I can't prevent him from, can't prevent his movement. So he's off, racing for my deployment zone. Get back here, little morsels. Beebe and Calypso frickin' annihilate my Urn Bearer. I messed up the activation order here. I was trying to leave it so that Athorak would be able to go after Calypso and Dr. Beebe and to be able to get intel or at least do something. So I think I used a pass token instead of using the Urn Bearer's activation, and she just got killed. Which is not good. Not good. So what has happened here is, yeah, Calypso and Dr. Beebe have done their stuff, pushed me around, killed my Urn Bearer, and tried to get over to join Mr. Ngaatoro, who's been trying to squish Gwyll without too much success. Athorak has pushed Calypso into his ward stones, trying to create some space, trying to get him away from this marker, but this other little dude's still contesting, and like I don't think I've managed to get him out of the way. And trying to get to the intel marker, but I don't have enough AP to actually get the... Oh no, I do. I've got some intel from the thing, but then I guess Calypso or Dr. Beebe still have an activation to go because they steal it back from me. I guess I should have just hit him instead of trying to get the intel. I think he would have scored it anyway because Maxine's got one and Orville's got one. So yeah, just I guess me taking it forces him to use an AP to get it off me. I just remembered I did use Kastore's ability to move to charge Marathine back towards this fight. I figured he didn't need the support. I needed as much power in the middle as I could get, and if Kastore ever does get in trouble, I can just teleport Marathine back to him. That was sort of the thinking there. That is how we end turn 3. Neverborn get no intel, and I can't pick up 2 markers for my protect territory. And Explorers score another point for the strategy, so 4-1 to the Explorers. Not looking good. We go into turn 4. There's my hand. And I can't remember who gets the initiative. I feel like it was me. And what do we do? I think Marathine goes and charges through Mr. Ngaatoro, and then focus hits him for severe damage. Yeah, that's it. So I focus hit him, and I managed to get a straight, and then so I cheat in the severe damage. Basically, if he doesn't Soulstone and prevent 2 damage, he will die, and he Soulstones and only prevents 1. So Marathine kills Mr. Ngaatoro, which will mean he can't score full points for In Your Face, which is something. Can't complain about that. Good sword. So then it looks like the Machinist has finally plucked up the courage to go and get involved. He's fighting, or she, don't know what it is, fighting valiantly against Athorak, who casually swats it aside, but they've done their job, I guess. They've wasted my activation with him, meaning I couldn't put him to more fruitful point-scoring use. Over here, Orville is just dancing rings around my Cavern Nephilim. So what I'd really wanted to do was just ignore him and run my Cavern Nephilim, whatever it's 6, 12, 15 inches it can go. Just run it across the table, ready to get him into the back line, into my opponent's deployment zone on turn 5. And remove the, remove my opponent's power ritual marker. So that was my plan here, but the 2-inch melee, I didn't have the cards to confidently be able to get out and have the distance. I mean, I guess if I'd measured it, I probably, even if he'd clipped some inches off my movement, I probably still could have made it. Maybe not gotten into the range to deny his scheme marker, which is sort of the big issue, I guess, of there's not really much point in me getting in, getting all the way over there to score 1 point, but giving him the extra point, it's the sort of the 2-point swing I'm going for. Yeah, so in the end I just decided to just kill fucking Orville, and I can't do it. I don't manage to do enough damage. He survives, and then he's just dancing around me. I think he's picked up another intel token, probably, and is just sitting here denying my scheme marker point. So annoying. So I'm desperately in need of points, and going after Maxine is just not really a good use of my time. So Kastore decides to get some intel for himself, drop a scheme marker down there on the table, the very corner, and they just stand there protecting this table quarter from Maxine being able to come in and do any more power ritualing. And then we've got Marathine to go charge her, I guess. We're having to play pretty fast at this point as the store is closing, so these next activations are pretty rushed. And essentially we end up talking out most of the final turn. I think Maxine steals my intel off me on the 4th turn, and presumably Calypso and Orville get intel as well. So they almost certainly score the strategy if they're able to. I've lost track at this point, I'm going to be honest. I believe I'm able to finally score protected territory, because I don't think he was able to block 2 of my markers. I don't know where this one's gone. So, in any case, we talk through turn 5, and essentially the Nephilim would be able to pick up the intel and get away out of Orville's range, preventing him from stealing it back. Maybe Calypso could get all the way over to deny him, but then Athorak could get intel or go and place a marker or something. Or Gwyll could get intel and place a marker. Or Kastore could get intel and place a marker. So essentially, we end up saying I will score 1 point for the strategy and both points for my protected territory. I can't score in your face. He can't score in your face. I think he might be able to score Power Ritual, right? If he moves Orville over, I don't know how far he can fly, but presumably even 5 inches will get him to within 3 inches of that. And I don't know if I can like completely block 3 inches. There might be space for Maxine to get a marker down here. So I think I'm going to say, actually, I think he can get the final point for Power Ritual. Don't know if I'd be able to stop that. Yeah, it's like I can't kill Maxine, and she can move out of combat pretty easily and get over here. And I can't do anything to Orville and still sort of get my points. So yeah, that was the game, and in the end, the Neverborn scored 1 point for Cloak and Dagger, 2 points for Protected Territory, and 1 point for In Your Face. The Explorers scored 3 points for Cloak and Dagger, 2 points for Power Ritual, and 1 point for In Your Face, making the scores, unless I'm very much mistaken, which I very well could be, 6-4 to the Explorers Guild. Really good game, really enjoyed this. I just love playing Malifaux so much. And playing Kastore is a real blast. I definitely made mistakes, moving the Cavern Nephilim up into a vulnerable position too early, misactivating and probably misusing Athorak and Gwyll and my Urn Bearer in the centre. I felt like I got some pretty lucky flips throughout the game, so I definitely can't blame the cards. Not understanding what the Explorers could do was made decision making not the easiest, but that's why you play. Gotta learn these things somehow. And yeah, I'm really not sure, I don't have in my head very well the interactions between all the healing pings and the shielding that come out of the Athorak and the Urn Bearer, and there are certain things about Gwyll, like I keep forgetting the card discard and card draw, and masters activate, and various ranges of the various bubbles and things. I just don't have in my head, and I need to play more games, get more familiar. I liked the idea of kidnapping Mr. Ngaatoro over here, but actually it would probably have been better just to kill him, and then I'd have Kastore, or even pull him, if I'm gonna kidnap him, pull him this way. So I then got Kastore into the centre. I needed to deal with Calypso and Beebe, and I think they're more killable than I thought they would be. I see armor 2 and I just think, oh, there's no point. And normally I just try to bleed on them, but all his pushes was meaning that I was getting pushed out of range before I could trigger Black Blood. So that was just really, really annoying. I needed to play the centre differently, and I think on balance maybe having not taking Kastore out here, making sure I just crush the centre, would have been a way to score more points. If you have any advice for me, how I should have positioned, combos or tricks I should have used or tried to deny my opponent doing, stick them down in the comments. I'd love to hear them. With that, I will thank my opponent again for a really, really fun game, and can't wait for the rematch. Until the next one, take care.